I don't know about you, but I am freezing. Wouldn't it be nice if I had a nice hot drink and you had a nice hot drink to get us through this winter? And you must have thought the same thing as you clicked on this here episode. So today on HTD, let's make some hot drinks. I got a big pot of coffee right here from my Technivore Mocha Master, and I want to use that. First, we're gonna make an Irish coffee. Now here's the thing. You can get all of these recipes using the HTD app, which is a web-based application that is available to members of my Patreon. So you go to htdapp.com or just over to Patreon, you'll find access to this. Not on the App Store, there's a lot of people who wanna know about that. I'm gonna look up Irish coffee. I've made it on the show a bunch of times, and honestly, I know how to make this one off the top of my head because I've got a friend who comes over, and every time she comes over, I wind up making her a few Irish coffees. But even if I didn't, I would know how to make this one. I've made, according to my app, about 1,400 drinks, and I forget their recipes all the time, so it's great for me to be able to look them up. And if you're using the show as your own personal cocktail guide, maybe it will be useful for you. Regardless, let's make an Irish coffee. This is a drink that I have made incorrectly on the show in the past, but I have since rectified that, in my opinion. I think I've redeemed myself. And in truth, I have come to really love the way that this comes out. So I like these. These are Demerara sugar in the raw cubes. I'm gonna make those available in a link if you wanna buy them online, or they'll probably be at your grocery store. 2 of these guys is all you need. This is technically the appropriate glass. Look, so this is like the style of glass that they use at the Buena Vista, where this drink comes from in San Francisco. I kind of wish it was a little bit bigger, but on the other hand, when we're drinking these, it's usually kind of towards the end of the night, and it's kind of nice to have them a little smaller, a little lower proof, because then you get to have another one. So I don't know, I'm of 2 minds about that. Anyway, let's start here with 1 to 1.5 ounces of Irish whiskey. I actually think that Tullamore Dew is the traditional whiskey to use in this drink, working off the top of my head here. At the very least, it's the Irish whiskey I grabbed today. Another question too. You notice it's an acronym, D.E.W. I don't know the answer to this one, but in the comments, let me know. Is it pronounced Dew, or should I say Tullamore D.E.W? 1.5 ounces of Dew right in there. Hit that with your hot coffee, fill it up. It should be 3 to 4 ounces. I leave myself about a 1/2 inch at the top there and give it a really good stir. We wanna mix that sugar right on in there. This, of course, I drink my coffee black. I'm a black coffee guy. It's how I start my day. It's probably the only thing I ingest until about 1:30 in the afternoon is black coffee and maybe a fiber supplement. Mix that in there, get it reasonably dissolved. I like these a lot. I really like these a lot. They are such a wonderful treat. Oh, by the way, you should warm up the glass first. I didn't do that today. I'm working very quickly here. I'm not really thinking. There's also, okay, not 2 schools of thought. Instructionally, I'm supposed to tell you that you want to put your heavy cream into a shaker a little bit and whip shake it, okay? In practice, if you shake this hard, you will have whipped cream in about a second and it will not work. So 1, 2, 3, that's it. What does that do? I don't think it does much, but if it helps it float, so be it. Anyway, and then you float it across the top of the drink. Use heavy cream here. Milk will sink. You need high fat content. Oh, and in fact, mine is sinking. That happens for me. Maybe I didn't whip it hard enough. Oh darn, it won't be delicious. That's a lie. It's gonna be fantastic. I don't know why it sank. I usually never have a problem with that. Oh my God, what a delight that is. It's just so wonderful. The 1.5 ounces of whiskey to 3.5, 4 ounces of coffee. Those 2 guys are such happy bedfellows. They really love each other. And I don't like a bourbon here. I don't like a scotch. I don't like anything that might accidentally impart any smokiness. To me, the Irish whiskey is so light and so sweet and so malty. In this drink, it is ideal. You cannot beat it. Sipping it through, normally, a nice heady layer of heavy cream, although here we have a kind of a cool ombre going on. Okay, so here's a weird thing about me. I liked, of all things, grape nuts as a kid, and I found out that if you take grape nuts and you microwave them dry, okay, I don't know why I got that idea. I think it was like, there was a thing on the box about trying them hot, and I did. I microwaved them dry for like a 1/2 minute to a minute, and then I put cold milk on top of them. This really weird thing happens where you've got hot grape nuts, which by the way are not made from grapes. They are the tailings of making, like, I think cornflakes. They're industrial waste that we feed to children. It was wonderful. Combined with cold milk, separate but together. It was this really cool thing that was happening. And that's what's kind of happening here. If you mix your cream, and it should be happening, it's not in this particular case. If you mix your cream into the drink, you reduce the whole temperature. But if you sip your hot coffee through a boundary layer of cream, this kind of really cool temperature interplay starts happening in this drink that you do not get otherwise. And it's almost like an affogato. It's almost like having ice cream with coffee. It's so cool. And it has this sweet, round whiskey note, and it is just so comforting and so welcoming. And it really does taste like putting your slippers on and sitting by the fire and just getting so cozy and just so wonderfully cozy. I am actually going to make it again just because I'm a little annoyed with my lack of separation here. That is what it should look like. And now you're really getting that interplay between the hot and the cold. Oh God, that's good. Although I did it wrong again. I have a bunch of sugar cubes sitting on the bottom. I didn't mix it in enough. Let's make a peppermint patty. I'm gonna look that up in the old How to Drink app. Now the peppermint patty was made, at least initially on the channel, as an Archer episode. But truth be told, I definitely recall drinking these with friends way before Archer ever existed. That doesn't mean that Archer shouldn't deserve some credit for this. It's a stupid simple drink. It's not particularly erudite, but it is a delight. It's gonna be very, very simple to make. We're gonna use an ounce of Créme De Cacao. I was using Tempest Fugit Créme De Cacao for a lot of drinks for a while, and I ran out of that. And yes, just build this right in the glass. A lot of your hot drinks are gonna wanna be built straight up in the glass. For a hot drink, you should warm your glass first. Do as I say, don't do as I do kind of a situation here. Like I'm just being lame. 1/4 ounce of Créme De Menthe. What makes it Créme De Menthe? Because I'm gonna use Créme De Menthe and Peppermint Schnapps in this at the same time. If it's a creme, it has a much higher quantity of sugar. And I forget, it's like over 15 or over 25% or something. It's a lot of sugar. It's a creme, it's a cream, creme. To say it right, you have to ignore the great vowel shift, put that back at the back of your throat and say Créme De Menthe. I want 1 ounce of Peppermint Schnapps. Here we are. Again, not the kind of drink where you need really good stuff, but if you got it, you can, I don't know. It's up to you. There you go. And now we're gonna hit that with about 3-4 ounces of hot cocoa. Where did I put my hot cocoa? There it is. Put it into this Whiskey thermal carafe, which has been keeping it wonderfully hot since I made it. Very simple thing to do, pour it in. I think Archer made his in a thermal carafe. I started thinking about this glass, and frankly, I think when I made it on the show previously, I just threw it in a mug or I threw it into a thermos or something like that, and you couldn't really see it. And I thought, that's a terrible presentation. Well, we can borrow from our Irish coffee, a little heavy cream. If I felt like dirtying up another kitchen implement, I would make some whipped cream. Whipped cream would be great. And we'll just try to float that right across the top again, because I think that looks really cool when it's done right. And it's really gonna add a nice touch to this drink. There we go. I just did a bunch of Christmassy episodes. As I said, it's now January. So I happen to have these like crumbles of peppermint crunch. I don't know, you know, maybe I can like, yeah, just put them on the surface of the drink a little bit for show. That's kind of cool. I don't know. I could probably do something better than that, but I'm thinking about like using them the way that you use like a couple of coffee beans on an espresso martini kind of thing. So on the one hand, they look neat. On the other hand, you don't want to drink them. And here's a fun thing. I have this little swirl happening here totally by accident. I bet if you were very clever, you could do sort of like latte art with this. So, you know, I'm not. I just make the drinks. I mean, who would hate that? Who would hate that? It's delicious. It is an absolute delight. Sweet chocolate peppermint magic. Is it the proofiest drink? Absolutely not. Does it need to be? Hell no. It's been a hell of a long time since I've skied or snowboarded, but To me, this screams après-ski. I would like to totally sit in the lodge and put up my feet by the fire. Ideally, one of those sweet mid-century conical fireplaces that kind of float in the middle of the room. That's the kind of vibe that I got from this drink, you know? Maybe I'm wearing like a black turtleneck, you know, and I look cooler than I am. I'm trimmer than I am. Oh, like Archer. And I think, yeah, he does actually wear the black turtleneck. Yeah, sure. Oh my God, that's so good. A phenomenal winter warmer, okay? You've been out sledding, you've been out playing with the kids in the snow on a snow day. I would say you've been bringing home your Christmas tree, but that time has passed, at least for this year. I don't know. It's hard to pick. Do I want the Irish coffee or the Peppermint Patty? I guess whatever I pick, there's always tomorrow. I can have the other one on the next day. Are they sophisticated? Are they refined? Are they spirit forward? No. Are they delicious? Yes. We're gonna move on to a drink that's called the Whiskey Skin. This is a pre-prohibition golden age cocktail, kind of a version of a toddy that I prefer. It is definitely my preferred toddy recipe by far. Before I do need to pause and mention that How to Drink is brought to you by viewers just like you. You know, How to Drink, much like NPR, is not supported by your tax dollars. It is supported by viewers like you. And, you know, YouTube's revenue really, if I may, shit the bed. It truly, the bottom has fallen out over here at old YouTube. I don't know why, but it tain't good. And that's fine. I'm not complaining. But as a result of that, Patreon has become the lifeblood of this channel. You know, it takes me 60 hours a week to make this channel. It takes Meredith 50 or 60 hours a week to make this channel. We have freelance editors who make this channel. So it is not an option for this to be a hobby if it's going to continue to exist. And if you like the show, please do check out the link in the comment below or up here in the corner thingy at the Patreon. If you want to use the HTD app, which I'm using throughout this episode, I built it. I'm not really a programmer. I'm not a programmer. I built it. It's a miracle that it works. It has flaws. Not promising it to be perfect. Meredith and I are working on the data set, but it does contain the 1,400 or so drinks that I've made on the show so far, and you can search them by a number of criteria, and you can save your favorites so that when you're making drinks for friends, you can have them very quick access right away. A lot of people seem to be using the show as their own personal cocktail guide. YouTube sucks for that. Use the HCD app. You'll get access to it through our Patreon. If you love the show, I think there might be something of interest for you at the Patreon. If there's not, that's fine. I would love it if you would take a look. And if you've been supporting the show this entire time, God, thank you so much for making all of this possible and for truly changing my life and Meredith's life and everybody in the orbit of this show's life. You are my hero. Thank you so much. I hope that I am living up to your expectations and what you want out of this. Thank you. Really, thank you. Let's move this thing right along. All right, so let's make a whiskey skin. This is a drink I personally love and I have not had in some time. Now, it might disappoint you to find out that a whiskey skin is an awful lot like an old fashioned, except instead of stirring it with ice, we just kind of pour some hot water on it. Yes, this is a historically accurate drink from the 1860s, 1880s. You will find it in Imbibe, as written by David Wondrich, his annotated version, if you will, of the 1860 Bartender's Guide by Jerry Thomas. Perhaps the most important book to have behind your bar. I don't have one. I have mine in another room, but you know, if there was a book that I would tell you to get, this is certainly it. There are two other books I think you should have, which is Darcy O'Neill's Fix the Pumps and, of course, Dave Arnold's Liquid Intelligence. But first and foremost, if you want to really get into mixology, start with David Wondrich's Imbibe. Of course, I'll put a link down here and up here in the corner. Anyway, this drink goes way back to the extent that maybe we should make it with a sugar cube, and I think I will. Why not? I'll use a Demerara cube. I'll use even, oh, that's a big fat boy. That's a big old fat boy. We'll use that big fat Demerara cube. We will hit it with a couple dashes of Angostura bitters. If this was a cold drink, for sure, I would want to use a simple syrup, but I can get away with using a regular sugar cube here. I should have warmed my glass first. I always forget to do that. I should have poured hot water into this glass, filled it up, let the glass get hot, and poured it out. This is true. If that's a thing that bothers you, I am sorry. Grab yourself a bottle of rye, 2 ounces of rye. This is a Bottle and Bond rye, and generally speaking, Bottle and Bond is the way to go for spirits if it's an option. It's particularly with whiskeys. I'm gonna give that a stir and a crush to kind of break up that sugar cube, but it's not gonna be necessary because in a second here, like right now, I am going to cover it in hot water. And stir that up, get that really dissolved in there. You will find that sugar does not want to dissolve in ethanol. It really doesn't. It loves to dissolve in water. I don't know, it doesn't really like dissolving into alcohol. As a result of that, everybody's, sugar cube in their old-fashioned never really dissolves the way it is supposed to. That's why I'm a big advocate of just using simple syrup. Now, I know, you're thinking, but Greg, how good could that be? It is a delight, and the final, very important component of this drink is a twist of lemon peel. Do not think you can skip this. You cannot. This is vital. Take that, give the expression right over the top there, get those oils in there, and toss it in. That's the part that makes it a whiskey skin. Believe it or not, without that, this is a hot toddy. I know a hot toddy often now involves hot tea, ginger, all kinds of things, but traditionally, and when I say traditionally, I mean back at the roots of cocktails in the late 1800s, a hot toddy was hot water old-fashioned, essentially, not much else. When you throw a twist of lemon in there, it becomes a whiskey skin, and to me, it becomes a truly divine drink. This is so much better than you believe, and it is so obviously stripped down to its barest, most essential parts. Oh. It is wonderfully hot. It is caramelly, sweet and lemon. The lemon is so present with that twist. Just that little twist is enormous. You get these bright floral lemon notes backed by sweet caramel whiskey. It has certain elements of spices coming through from the rye and the Angostura bitters. They're not tremendously loud. Something like the bitters, something like the sugar cube, all of this is to taste, right? This is more of a format for a drink. You can definitely modify all of these ratios to fit your personal palate, the way that you would want the drink. For me, this is pretty perfect. I would love to sit on the couch with my missus, put on my favorite Christmas movie. It happened on Fifth Avenue, and if you haven't seen it, it's a great film, and just truly enjoy this drink. It has these cinnamon and bubblegum notes that come out that are distant, and I swear to you they're there. You may not be able to pick up on them, but they're there. Distant in bourbon in general, that really come to the fore when you lengthen it and sweeten it the way we are here. You get these cinnamon notes, these bubblegum notes, and in truth, a cinnamon stick would not be an unwelcome addition here. Just by adding heat to this, just by adding warmth to it, just by adding a little simple, just by lengthening it with water, you arrive at something that to me really shows off what an amazing piece of human achievement whiskey is. I know. Particularly right now, there's a lot of talk about how it's all bad for you. It is bad for you. These things are bad for your body. They are bad for your body. But if this is not the wrong medicine for you, and for some people it definitely is, and life is full of medicine, all kinds of medicine. Everything we do in life is some kind of medicine or another. But if this isn't the wrongest medicine for you, it might just be good for your soul, for lack of a better word. The thing is that when you look at whiskey, or any distilled spirit, and the history of it, you are looking at an entire 30,000-year journey from hunter-gatherers and foragers to agriculture, to civilization, to communication, to the development of language, to understanding the seasons and mapping the cosmos. You have to do all of that. To paraphrase Carl Sagan, if you want to make an apple pie from scratch, you must first invent the universe. Whiskey is that thing. You have to You have to build Stonehenge to make whiskey so that you know when the seasons are, so that you know when to plant your wheat or your rye or your barley. Then you have to have this insane idea. I always think about how leavened bread, bread. The idea that like, well, I can't really eat that little piece of grain, but if I powder it and I mix it with water, salt, and this weird magic bug called yeast, and then I bake it, it might be edible. That's crazy. That's crazy. People always, to me, I always think it's funny that people think that pyramids are like some ancient aliens conspiracy. I think bread is. How the fuck do you get from weeds in a field to bread? Woo, man. And then from that into whiskey, right? You have to develop chemistry, alchemy, distillation. Think about how many acres of wheat it takes to make a bottle of whiskey, one bottle of this stuff. And then you have to let it wait. You have to put it into an oak cask and let it wait. Think about how many gallons of sweat, blood, and tears go into that. How much of humanity has to be distilled into a bottle of fire for you to open it up, sit down, put up your feet, and enjoy it. This right here, to me, is the crux of what it's all about. This is civilization in a glass, okay? I am as impressed by this drink as I am by going to the fucking moon. And that is what a whiskey skin is. Jazz and cocktails, the quintessential contributions from America to the entire panoply of the arts. This is it. This is what we did. Jazz and cocktails, my babies. Now that I am done losing my fucking mind about a whiskey skin, I truly cannot emphasize enough how much I think you should try that drink. You're scoffing, but you should really try it. Let's make, what did I even name this thing? So I wrote down some notes, but in truth, my app is better for this, the How to Drink app, and I can just go in here, clear all my filters, go to media adapted from, go down to Cowboy Bebop, and then look at the drinks that it yields. And Vodka Toddy. Okay, so this was a drink that I created based on an episode of Cowboy Bebop in which Faye drinks, that episode did really well, surprisingly too, a hot, what appears to be vodka drink in that episode because she's not feeling well. A friend that she had just met prepares this for her. And I thought, well, that can't be very good. But you know what? It was. It was really good. To make it, I'm going to need a glass, of course. And I'm going to need, actually, to take a lemon. And I'm going to need to make a few lemon wheels. So we're just going to slice this old lemon into wheels. 1, 2, 3, 4. Lemon wheels, and I'm going to add them to my glass. Ideally, they'll be standing up. We'll just put them in the bottom for now. 1/2 ounce of rosemary simple syrup. Very easy to make. I took simple syrup and I cooked it with rosemary. That's all I did. I mean, literally took that bottle of simple syrup back there, threw it on, poured some of it into a pan with some sprigs of rosemary and cooked it until it smelled and tasted right. That's it. So 1/2 ounce of rosemary simple. I think a smaller glass would be better for this because I feel like for these measurements, this glass is huge, but that's okay. 2 ounces of vodka. Get that out of here. There you go. Back in there. 2 sprigs of fresh rosemary. Where did I put those? There we go. Beautiful. And you can add these now or later. I feel like if you add them now, the water is going to hit them and be hot and express more of that rosemary oil that we want in there. And that's it. And then hot water. And so let's pour some hot water into this glass. I suspect that my simple is sitting on the bottom a little bit, so let's give it a bit of a stir. And have it with a straw or without. I kind of think this looks beautiful as it is. Just visually, the crystal clarity of it, the green of the rosemary and the yellow of the lemon rinds, all wonderful things. And of course, it's very hot. So I actually will enjoy a straw with this. And there we have the Vodka Toddy from Cowboy Bebop. Oh, it's like a glass of foresty Christmas. Mildly sweet. The lemon and rosemary together, it's so savory and so welcoming and warming and just, oh my God, that's delicious. I think that is wonderful. It reminds me, I don't know why, of like Christmas in the 90s. There was a winter that I got some screensavers that I thought were so freaking cool. This was a thing that was of concern to me back then. And we had a Christmas tree. I think it was the first year that my mom let us put colored lights on the tree. She was extremely adamant about white lights only prior to that. And it's just something about this, I don't know, something about this flavor really takes me right back there. Powerfully. The Woodbridge Center Mall, if you're from New Jersey, important location of my childhood. And boy, gee whizzikers, what a beverage. And, you know, it's a little alcoholic. You know, it's got something in there for Dad. Yeah. Delicious. It tastes like something you would drink to nurse a cold. And in fact, that's what is going on in that episode. So first off, a little pat on my own back there for coming up with this. I think it's just in the episode. I don't think that I really invented this. I think this is exactly, or darn close to the drink that you see them make for Faye. I know that some people suggested, oh, it could be hot water and sake. But if memory serves, the reason I used vodka is because you can see very clearly that it's a bottle of vodka that Faye's savior is using when they make this drink. I know. What do you think? You're thinking, Greg, it's hot water, vodka, rosemary, and lemon. How good could that be? But much like a whiskey skin, this to me is, the whiskey skin to me is a brown, this is a clear spirit answer to a whiskey skin. They are very similar in regard to their presentation, their level of sweetness, their weight, their heaviness, and some of the flavor components, but they are like in different directions. This is much more bright and foresty, and this is much more leather wingback chair by the fiery. I don't know how else to put that. Wonderful drinks for when it's cold out and very easy to make, in my opinion. I don't know. An alcoholic equivalent to a can of Campbell's tomato soup, you know? What a delight. There are, of course, historical hot beverages such as wassail and mulled wine. They're pretty strongly associated with Christmas. I've done various versions of them on the show. I'll put links up below and above to both of those things if you want to check them out. They don't really, now that the holidays is passed, I don't know that they're really appropriate. These feel much more on the money for me, and they're I don't know, they're not as much of a production, right? They're very easy to make these. You can make these on a whim. Wassail is a process. Smoking bishop or mulled wine, you know, they both involve baking. So they don't feel quite like cocktails so much as like culinary recipes, if you will. Of these, of course, my favorite is the beloved whiskey skin. I've had many of these in my life. And you'll get different drinks with different whiskeys. I personally really like the way a rye or a bourbon behaves in there, but a scotch can be lovely as well. Guys, thank you all so much for hanging out with me. That's kind of all I got for today.